And then, all right, now it's official. We'll still give Harris a few minutes to come back, and then we'll kick it off.
Yeah, how did you all enjoy the town hall yesterday and the after town hall? Any takeaways? Impressions?
Yeah, the community is growing.
Yeah.
Get more and more
Very
limbo
exciting.
guys.
A lot of new people joined the mini proposal workshop, I finally felt like home, like explaining the process myself, because when previously I was like, maybe this or maybe that, but now everybody was like into it. Oh, okay, this is how it goes. And I got Melanie jumped there and gave a lot of encouragement. Oh, this is very good, very, very nice. We get it so nicely, neatly packaged. So that and from then encourage new people to also speak up and give insights.
I heard a lot of good things about your breakout room, by the way. I saw a lot of positive chatter about the mini proposal workshop, Thibaut.
Nice. It was great to see over 400 people showing up for town hall. That was like a record.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. Oh, go ahead, Felix. All right, let's kick this off then. We can start with some introductions. Let's just check in and see how we're doing, and we'll start with Circle V1. So how about Dor? You can kick us off, followed by Felix. And just maybe just introduce yourself and how you're doing today.
Sure. Yeah. My name is Dor. I'm the head of product governance for IOG. A former Circle member, and now a new a mentor for Harris, and I'm feeling great. It's exciting.
Thanks, Dor. How about you, Felix, and then followed by Lawrence?
I'm Felix. Always happy, almost happy. No, it's true. All the time happy. Former representative for the toolmakers and maintainers, and now happy to support Thibaut in Catalyst Circle version 2.
All right, Lawrence, and then Victor.
Yeah. Hey guys, so Lawrence, previously I was representing SPOs, now Raymond will be doing that. I'm super glad because he's super experienced guy. And yeah, so looking forward to be a mentor and same time learn something also from him. And yeah, a little bit sad that we are leaving, at one point, but at the same time I'm super excited, that there is next Catalyst version 2, and looking forward, what will happen during this period.
All right. Thanks, Lawrence. And then finally, Victor, to wrap up the circle intro.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Victor. I was the community advisors representative in Circle V1, and I'm here to support Kimmich as a representative in Circle V2.
All right, and then we will switch to the admin team to introduce them. How about we start with JP, and then we'll go to Michael.
Everyone, so JP here. I've been lurking around Catalyst for a while, but really happy to join in on the admin team. So feel I have some skills that I can bring, and just looking forward to supporting the circle and seeing what you guys come up with. Thanks.
Thanks. Michael, and then Nadim.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm part of the Catalyst admin team as a secretary. I'm very involved in the Cardano itself. I'm a CEO of a Cardano startup called Ikigai Technologies, so I'm happy to be here and support in any way I can.
Nadim, and then Peter.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nadim Karam. I come from digital transformation background, and I've been with the admin team for about almost a month now. And yeah, looking forward to working with the new faces and supporting you where and when we can. Should be an awesome ride.
Beautiful. Peter.
Yes, I am secretary, and I've been lurking around Project Catalyst since the summer. And then I came on board as the secretary when CCv1 asked for them, and been here ever since, enjoying it.
Thanks, Peter. My name is Nori Nishigaya, and I'm on the admin team, and I'm the current facilitator for the circle. So I'll be facilitating the meetings. Thanks, everybody. And now I'd like to welcome Circle V2. Let's go down the list. Let's start with Raymond, and then we'll go to Kenrick.
Hey guys, I'm Ray. I'm the state cooperator for GROW. I'm also a founding board member for SPACRA. I'm going to be taking over for Loris, and I've been following Loris's progress. Loris has done a really good job of keeping us updated on what's been happening with the Circle V1. So I'm really excited to step into that role and see what I can do here for this community.
Nice. All right, Kenrick, and then Stephen.
Yes, hello, I'm Kenrick. I run a small business called Fotrek, and one of the first activities of the business was to run ITN stake pool. I'm more focused on the R&D, so I decided not to try to pursue an operational stake pool, but that's still an exciting space. I haven't ruled it out for the future, and I'm really excited to be part of the Catalyst team and really eager to dive into continuing to develop and improve the governance of a really exciting program.
All right, thanks, Kenrick. Stephen, and then Allison.
Thanks, Nori. I'm Stephen, and I run a project called Quality Assurance DAO, and I've been with Project Catalyst since March. I'm the Catalyst coordinator representative for version 2, and I replace Julie Montag, who is going to join us later because she's got some family commitments.
All right, Allison, and then Harris.
So I'm Allison, representing the general ADA voters. I'm excited to have just given notice to my job so that I can focus full-time on Catalyst. And I also love to talk about the fact that I've been around Catalyst since Fund 0. So I met Dor very early days, and I'm just absolutely beyond thrilled to be here now.
Beautiful, thanks, Allison. Harris, and then we'll wrap it up with Matthias.
I'm super excited to be here with the Catalyst Circle. It's great, vibes that you guys have been giving for the last few weeks in the very first round, and I'm excited to see where we can take this together. So I feel really happy and good and excited to be on this journey with all of you.
Yep. Oh, and I didn't scroll down far enough, so we'll do Matthias and then Thibaut.
Hello, my name is Matthias Sieber, preferred pronouns are he and him. Even though I'm the representative for the Cardano Foundation, I can only really bring myself to the circle, at least for today, as I have rather limited information on the foundation's expectations regarding this endeavor, at least at this time. And I'm glad to be here.
Yes, and then Thibaut.
Oh, I'm Teva from Estonia. I was one of the luckiest to join on Fund 1, and ever since been actively participating in community, learning the mechanics and trying to help people. And now finally, when Catalyst version 1 started, felt like we can start working on impossibility. How do we create a decentralized organization? And I like and governance in itself, and I like impossible challenges. So now I'm very excited to be part of the amazing team. I pretty much know all of the faces, so it's like in home.
Thanks, Thibaut. Did I miss anybody? There's a lot of us, and I was kind of working through the attendee list. All right, welcome, Circle 1, Circle 2, and admin team. And this will be our largest meeting. I think moving forward, we'll just have Circle V2 plus 1 secretary and 1 facilitator. But I wanted to make sure that we all met face to face just to celebrate that. All right, so jumping into the agenda. We did that. The agenda today will be an introduction from CCv1, and we'll talk a little bit about expectation management, process explanation, priority setting, recommendations and suggestions. And then we'll take a look at the Trello board, because that contains the problem sensing and the different things that Circle V1 was looking at, and not all of it was done. So it could be something that CCv2 continues with. But I'm sure we'll want to do a second round of problem sensing and bring stuff up and prioritize appropriately, but we'll go through that later in the meeting. And then we'll have a little bit of time to talk about the first 30-day plan, to share, discuss, and align your initial plans for the first 30 days. And then we'll just have a little bit of feedback time at the end, and there will be a feedback form where you can provide some feedback on how the meeting went, because we always like to improve how we do things. All right, any questions on the agenda or anything people think we should add, remove, or change? All right, if not, then let's jump into the CCv1 intro. So Catalyst Circle V1 just ended. They did a lot of things. Does somebody on the first circle want to give a general highlight of what you experienced, the kinds of things you tackled and did just for the new circle, and then maybe talk about the highlights that you saw and what you would love to just let them know about?
Yeah, I think I can say something here.
Okay. Thanks, Victor.
Yeah. So first of all, welcome everyone from CCv2. I'm very happy to see everyone of you here. And we've been through the first iteration of Catalyst Circle, and we were, at the same time that we had to deliver something, we were learning how to do things. So we've changed our operational way during the Circle V1 itself, and we've identified some things that are very important to keep in mind, especially if, since you guys are just starting this. It's good to have this in mind from the first day. And the first thing is that this is you are here representing your own groups, but you are not like defending your groups against each other. This is you are going to realize ways to work together and to make Catalyst better. I believe all of you know about this already. I'm just reinforcing this. And second thing is that you don't have to do everything by themselves. You are here mainly to lead, to coordinate, and to inspire your own groups to step up and pick some of the challenges that we are currently facing together, and build bridges and see how we can tackle these challenges and make Catalyst itself better. So it's a big responsibility, but it's also an experiment. As in Catalyst, overall things may break. Don't be afraid of changing new things as well. And yeah, I think that's it.
All right, thanks, Victor. Does anybody else want to share something from Circle V1?
Yeah, I guess I'll step in. Yeah, I mean, I think there are like a few things that kind of really were really highlights for me, that really made me happy and proud to see they're being done. I think the number one, I think, is like the whole problem sensing exercises that were done with the, that basically the circle members did independently with their own groups. I think this is a really, really important function. And yeah, and actually was very inspired by the work Victor did there with with the CAs, and I think other groups also did amazing work. I just like I was specifically noticed like Victor, but I'm sure others also did a great job, and that's one. I think a second thing was working on the, like sensing the problems, prioritizing the problems, putting up on the Trello board, and not letting them go away, right? Like, so there were problems that were sensed, and because they were formalized and on a board that was publicly available, and there was these defined columns, it was very clear for everybody involved which problems are making progress, which programs are stagnating, which ones are prioritized, where are different things blocked. I think it's really, really valuable thing to do. Definitely a highlight, because it's good to see not just what you do, but also what we don't do, and because I think that inspires others to come and pick it up, or acknowledge that there is an unaddressed problem. Then the third thing is leading of writing proposals, whether it's a direct funding proposals for the circle and the initiative taken by the administrative team to write proposals to make sure they're well resourced, writing the proposals for funding the circle itself, and the challenge proposal for rapid funding. I think all of these were like really, really powerful things, and we saw, and it was validated, but because all these proposals get voted in, right, by a really nice amount of people. So this building of legitimacy, right, through proposing things that are very sensible and make sense, that take a systems level view, really important, beyond the addressing specific challenges. Then, yeah, and lastly, I think just amazing conversations, just the fact that we get to exchange ideas and have perceptions and learn about each other's worlds, and that makes all our solutions better, all our approaches better. For me, that was really, really great.
Nice, thank you, Dor. Does anybody else have things they want to share, Felix or Loris?
Just second what Victor and Dor said.
All right. Can anybody share? I just took some notes, maybe a little bit on the problem sensing that Dor mentioned. Like, what were some of the best practices or things that you did that you found really effective that CCv2 could continue or improve upon to do more problem sensing from their communities?
I think Matthias wants to say something.
Yeah, so the initiative that Victor kicked off, there was a lot of noise in Telegram, but ultimately, so I'm not proposing Telegram as a good communication tool, but that is where I guess very high activity for the community advisors takes place. And what this led to is a mirror board, right, where we captured all the different problems, and Victor and Lucio and some others were involved in kind of grouping these things, and then we put it up to a vote using a ranked voting system. And I think that worked quite nicely to get problems into the circle, raise awareness, but then also get a voting done. So that worked nicely.
All right, thanks, Matthias. Any other things to input on that topic?
Took a very opposite approach. I went through live sessions. So I wanted to make it as interactive as possible. For me, it's coordinated with Victor already. In this regard, we said, okay, let's try several ways. Because I think from voting, it's a nice way that you get as many people included into a decision-making process. The flip side is that as many people are included into a decision-making process. Where maybe you want also to filter already some people who are actually able to do something than just to vote. So I took a very time-consuming, very intense approach, organizing after town hall swarm sessions, invite people to censor the problems in live sessions, filter them out from session to session, and by this bring already people together, which in the later stage also took action to solve those problems as they identified and interpreted themselves very early already with the problems. So make them much more part of it can work also. I think a mix between everything on the later stage might be really interesting as well.
Very interesting. Thanks, Felix. Dor?
Yeah, I just want to share that, I think both Victor and Felix are, a kind of like expert facilitators. Okay, they've been through the block a bit, and they had the chance to practice and experiment and try and hone their craft. And not any circle member has these innate abilities or this background. So some of you might be like, oh, like how do I actually do problem sensing? What are the steps? Or how do I facilitate a group? Like I'm not sure if I know all the skills or the right process. And I want to say that I want to encourage you to say that, okay, to share that when we don't know or there's some technique or methodology, first of all, it's awesome for you because that's how you're going to learn and you're going to use the resources of the circle to learn how to do these and grow as leaders. And I think the second thing, this way, we can keep these practices like kind of like going and evolving and not like lose them at, if someone did something, if Victor did something good in V1, it's nice if it's preserved for V2 or on top of it evolves rather than like a big reset every time and we reinvent the wheel. So really be real about what you feel confident about or not confident about. It's a safe space for that. Yeah.
All right. Victor?
Yep, just wanted to complement that. I believe all of us Circle V1 members, we've got a problem statement backlog that were raised during our problem sensing phase. So Circle V2 members might use this if they want to as a resource, not to start from the scratch and to start with something that has been discussed already.
Really good point. Thanks, Victor. All right. Any other people want to chime in on kind of the general introduction, tips to pass along? Stephen?
Yeah, I forgot to mention in my introduction that I used to be a secretary for Catalyst Circle for about half its life. And I just want to pay tribute to the admin team and to the facilitators and the secretaries that are here now. And they provide a very good resource for Circle members. And a lot of the weight that we have, we can put, well, we have a lot of support for Circle version 2, which maybe wasn't there at the beginning of Circle version 1. So we're not alone. We have support and we have friends with us, and there's good people here to help us going forward. So I'm quite happy about that. So to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for highlighting that, Stephen. Loris?
Yes, so from my side, definitely know whenever to find, the problem sensing use community. So that's why you are there. So you are elected for that by the community, and just talk to them. have a discussion what's going on and figure out what's happening and what kind of issues are there, so which to solve. And also, you know, as a circle circle one worked, you know, of course we sense some issues, but it doesn't mean that you have to follow that. Basically, you can maybe sense some new things what's happening, but kind of, you know, maybe more urgent issues are there, or maybe you can restructure something or do differently. So it's not like set in stone that you have to basically do how we did it. But yeah, but just take, you know, the best, and if you can improve something, perfect. You know, just do it.
Nice. Those are very good reminders. All right. I see that we're starting to fill out some of the expectation management in the sheet. Maybe it's a good time to bring that up for Circle V2, and maybe with some help from Circle V1 on what you saw that worked or what didn't work. What are some expectations we should have of the group? And that can be stuff around meeting attendance, work outside of meetings. How much time did it take? How much time should people set aside? What's in store for Circle V2 that you wish you knew about at the beginning?
I can go with that. So from my experience, I know the circle members are super active people, and if you need help, definitely contact them. And just, you know, have some kind of work groups after the meetings. Even though, you know, they're not like directly connected, you know, SPOs are usually also not connected directly to other groups, but still, you know, we are working together, helping each other, and yeah, so that's actually, I think, which you should use a lot. So cooperation between the groups.
We saw also sometimes that some groups by nature work very close to each other already. For example, toolmakers and maintainers with the CAs. They work, what I experienced with Victor, for example, when it came to, when we made a community advisor recruitment for Fund 6, where we arrived to onboard 300 CAs in 2 weeks. This was launched by 2 communities. In this regard, we saw also sometimes that some groups, when they are close to each other, when they work close to each other, they can come up with an amazing impact in a very short time. So focus on this as well a little bit. Say, okay, which groups are already close to each other by nature in Project Catalyst, and then coordinate between you as representatives already and coordinate your actions.
Nice. I think that's an important point. But I would also highlight if there are groups that don't naturally work together, it might be a good opportunity to do so, and maybe you'll discover something that you don't normally come across because the groups don't interact as much. But I did see that cooperation lead to really quick and amazing results. So yeah, definitely do lean into that. I think that's an amazing strength of this circle, is to coordinate things like that. How about time expectations? Where did Circle V1 feel stretched or wish they had better expectations going in time management wise?
Yeah, I believe this depends on how Circle V2 is going to operate, because in Circle V1, for example, we picked up to a couple of problem statements to tackle in the following week, in the following 2 weeks, actually. And there were people responsible for them. So during this time, they were more active and more and busier with the circle activities, and it could take up to 8 or 10 hours, or maybe a bit more than that. But during this limited time, there are some weeks where you don't have any of your problem statements being tackled. Doesn't necessarily have to be selected for you to work on them, but then there is a focus and there is some expectations for you to bring something in the following meeting. So it depends. Actually, there's some weeks where you are going to be busy for a couple hours, then other ones that could be up to 8 or 10 hours. That's, at least that was my personal experience in V1.
So when you just have 2 hours per week, there are 2 possibilities. Once you're really effective, or something is moving wrong with the with your side of the community.
And related to that, I just wanted to bring up around meeting attendance. How important is it or not that people show up to every meeting? I just want to make sure we set expectations as a group, because there's a lot of us and schedules conflict and things come up. So how do you expect each other to handle absences? Should we volunteer a second or somebody to sit in our place, or is it okay just not to be there? Open to everybody's feelings around that. Loris?
Yeah, so I think one of the requirements was basically like a mandatory, that you can be always on those meetings. And yeah, so if you can't meet, you have to decide, if there's some representative which represents, which I don't like it, but still, it's like kind of mandatory thing which we expect that people be coming on this board. But yeah, you can discuss about what happens if that doesn't happen. I suppose administrative team can come up with some kind of idea, and they will be basically checking, and that's actually one of their tasks, to check that everyone is on the meeting and they're doing their job which they were voted in. And if not, then of course there should be either it just moves to other person. I don't know, but I suppose this will be more in admin stuff. So that's kind of my feeling about the meeting attendance.
All right. Thanks, Lars. Stephen?
Yeah, thanks, Nori. Yeah, I think we should try our utmost to, the new circle members should try their utmost to attend every meeting they can. But of course, things happen. And I mean, I think now you mentioned it, to have a kind of backup may be a good idea. So to have something I might consider now, go back to the coordinators and think about talking about, if something does happen, who can be there. But broadly, I think it's very important to attend in general.
All right, thanks. Dor?
I have 3 concrete recommendations. So in an event when a member can participate, so 1, let us know in advance this is what's going to happen, like notify the circle in advance. 2, have someone from your group fill in for you in real time, just so they can react and we can get a 360 feedback. And 3, listen into the recording and share your notes after the fact, just so that we actually get your input. And so I think that's, following this should be sufficient that we still retain the value, even if you're not able to make it at that time.
Amazing. I really like that.
And also don't forget that you're not only elected by the community, you're also a funded proposal. So you're accountable on this side as well.
And that's a good point for the admin team to track attendance. Could one of the secretaries actually take attendance, since we didn't do that, and maybe put all the attendees at the top of the doc? And then we'll prepare that for next time, so it's a lot easier. Okay. Any other things that people want to talk around expectation management?
One more question maybe regarding time. So maybe admin team can check if that actually the time is good for everyone. I don't know, because the time zones maybe have changed, so they have to adjust maybe. So just check if everything is fine with the times for the meetings.
Okay, that's a really good point. And if this time is actually horrible for anybody, since I think we're all here, please do let us know and we can try to find a better time. But yeah, we are spread out across many time zones, so it's always challenging. I don't know if we have anybody from Asia or Australia, New Zealand yet, but that'll make it really challenging when we span the world and have to start talking about that. Okay. Any other expectation management related topics?
Maybe one thing, just there was like a few. I mean, look, we're all used to the fact, like just because the way society is set up, right, from age 0, that those who are like guiding and consulting and advising and directing are also the decision makers, right? Like your teacher in school, she taught you stuff, but she was also could send you. You also need her permission to go to the bathroom, right? Like your boss is like gives you constructive feedback, but they can also fire you or give you a promotion. In the circle, it's not like this. So at least, I mean, there might be more authority that's gonna enter this circle midterm. I mean, I'm just preparing you for that. It might happen. Like we're working on extending the scope of what the circle and it might have some decision-making power over some things, even in this term. So we will come and let you know. But it's kind of hard to get used to the fact that you kind of like don't have decision-making power. Like the ultimate deciders are actually the voters. That they are the deciders. Like the circle can recommend, it can lead, it can inspire, it can provoke, it can guide, it can point out to something that's really important over there. But we don't have the mandate to decide for the treasury or for Cardano, but we have our authority, like our power comes from the guidance, the leadership, the discipline, the practices we do that makes people realize that these things are important and provoke them to action.
Dora, I think you just gave us a big incentive not to miss any meetings back on the topic of attendance. Who knows what's going to be announced?
I was going to say, scope creep, how far does that go?
Just be ready any moment now. I'll jump in and But we're working on, we're working on Voltaire, and we're trying to move as fast as we can. And I would be, if by the end of your term there's some more stuff that's added, that means I didn't do a good job. So I'm really trying hard to push things through.
Nice. Those are some nice teasers of things to come. All right. Let's move on to process explanation. There are some things in our process that we're changing a little bit and others that are staying the same. So maybe we can just go over at a high level. We do now have a Catalyst Circle Slack workspace. So we have a space set aside for this team, the admin team, and even CC alumni to work, chat, and have a space to share documents and all the stuff you do in Slack. And we chose this over Discord. Discord's a kind of a community favorite, but Slack is really more conducive to business type things. And I think the circle is a little bit more businessy rather than community. So it does have some nice features around that. And you should all have had invite links. And if you haven't done so yet, please do click on there and sign up. That's where we will be planning agendas and discussing Fund 7 proposals, and all the stuff we're going to do as a group will be taking place on the Slack channel outside of the meetings. Things that are staying the same, I think we're going to continue with Trello unless you all want to change that up. And that is up for discussion, but the admin team really didn't have a better solution at this point. We were thinking about Jira, but that might be a little too complicated. Everything's already in Trello, so we can start there. If it's not working out and people would like to change, we're super happy to support and take recommendations on that. Other things, we are working on a website, and we do have a catalystcircle.io domain name. So we will be setting up a Google Works or Google Teams space. So we will have email addresses official for this group so that you can have people email you directly here rather than your personal emails or work emails, which will be nice. So that's coming. Anything else, admin team, that we should mention process-wise?
Yeah, so I'm setting up a documentation kind of thing for the admin team using Confluence, and it will be probably being hooked up to Jira as well.
What's going to happen with the Git book? What Stephen has been quite nicely documenting. Is it going to be continued by somebody else, or Stephen,
if you want to talk to that, Stephen?
Yeah, just on me. Yes. So, well, Catalyst Circle Oversight was funded, and it was funded as part of QA DAO. And I have a colleague in QA DAO who's taking that over from me now. So it will continue. And also, my colleague will expect full access to everything and full transparency and no private channels for oversight. And everything will be documented and transcribed. Meetings will be transcribed. I've asked already for the recording for this meeting to be passed on to my colleague, who will, obviously the style will be different from the way I've done it, but if we could support the new person who is doing that, all I can say at the moment is there's a colleague in QA DAO who's going to do that.
Okay. If you can share contact information, we can invite them to the Slack as well, so they have access there.
I wasn't assuming that, but that would be useful, yeah. I'll let them know. Thanks, Noah.
All right, any other process things that we should mention, or any questions from Circle V2 around mechanisms that you're wondering about?
So primary communication, I guess, will be done through Slack. Is that right?
Yes, it'll probably be easier to manage than the current Discord or the Telegram. There is a Telegram. I don't know how people feel about that and continuing there. But we do have Slack now, and we can break conversations out by topic or however you want.
And are there any specific goals for the website itself? Defined yet?
No specific goals. I don't know, Michael, do you want to talk a little bit about the website and anything that you were thinking in that?
Yeah, so for the website, pretty much the goals, which we can expand after it's set up, but is mainly just for exploration of learning about Catalyst and what Catalyst has been up to. So kind of just like a landing point for people that aren't involved. So it'd be like a link to everything, who's the members, what the Catalyst is doing, what are kind of like the goals of the Catalyst itself at like high level, maybe information about like upcoming elections, and links to any public documentation. So probably a lot of the Git book things will be there. So just a place for people that want to learn more about Catalyst or to know what it is, just a kind of single point of contact or entry.
Great, thank you.
One thing I just suggest looking at is, I haven't used this, but I understand that Slack provides external messaging now. That if that's possible to integrate, that might be better than a separate email address. I don't know what people's preferences are, but I'm just finding it kind of overwhelming the number of different communications channels that I have to keep up with these days?
There's definitely integrations available. There's a Telegram to Slack bridge, so you can have two-way things. So you can pick the channel of your choice. It does cost money. It's not a free piece of software, but we are funded now. So if that's something that is desired, we do have some budget for tooling available for that.
I have a general question about, experience from the V1 circle. These tools that are being used, Slack and Trello, Zoom, and all these things. Is there something in your experience? Is there a way that these tools have been used in the past that you don't want to use in the future? Is there something you experienced with one of these tools that you don't want to do? I'm looking for the learned experiences of what you don't want to use some of these tools for.
The website, emails, Confluence will all be new, so there's really not too many there.
Can I just make a request on the emails, if we're setting up emails, to have, rather than a name in front of it, the role of the circle member. So, for example, coordinator at circle or that kind of thing. So then it's transferable to the version 3.
I had that same question. What would happen with the emails at the end of the circle? And I think that solves it nicely. I was going to comment on the Telegram too. If we're using Slack, my personal preference would be let's not do a Telegram channel. Also, just consolidate the communication in Slack.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree as well. Yeah, with that.
Okay. If we have general consensus on that, then we can retire the Telegram channel. Just a question for Circle V1 quickly before TiVo. I know there were other people on the Telegram circle thing, like Danny and a few other IoT people. Are they important to keep in the communication loop, and should we be inviting them to Slack?
Yes, definitely. Yes,
Okay.
Danny is your communication string to the community when it comes to announcements and everything. Stay close to him.
Okay. Was there anybody else we need to add who's not part of the circle? All right, sounds like we just need to add Danny, so we'll do that for sure. Okay, TiVo, you had your hand up.
I was voting yes for let's not use Telegram.
Okay, excellent. And while I have your attention, I know that people have different meeting processing things. TiVo, do you want to have Miro going in the background during our meetings, or is that an additional overhead that we just don't need?
I think it will emerge over time from basically from what I gather here. We kind of start with a new problem sensing, and I will bring my strong sides. So one of is workshopping in Miraboard, into gathering people around, and from there organizing the stuff probably also in Miraboard and showcasing it. And now I have had practice project management on Miraboard, so if that is going to be helpful, then maybe we'll be using that, but I'm not expecting anybody else to mandatorily using it, but I will be showing results from there, and we'll see what stays and what remains.
Okay, thank you. Dor?
Yeah, I want to take this opportunity to point out the kind of prototyping function of the circle. So from my vantage point, the circle is a prototype of Voltaire governance. and its scope right now is the scope is for Catalyst, but there's going to be many other groups and circles and councils, that are, gonna use similar formats, okay, for different functions, for different types of decisions. And we're now in a very sweet spot where it's very contained. So there's a chance to experiment and a chance to introduce kind of like the best, like the best methodologies that we can, so the best tools, the best facilitation techniques, the best code of conduct that enable the best practices, basically the human practices and tools that enable productive meetings, creative meetings, I would call like inclusive meetings, and what your circle. So yeah, our circle was like, we kind of like ran through a lot of like stuff that we need, like we realized we don't need, and we took off, I think, from this stuff. And I think for you guys, you have a great opportunity to introduce new things that are going to be part of the canon of like governance of Cardano. So use up this opportunity. Okay, so if you see that there's this like some exciting collaboration tool, that it is proven and you see it really works really well, or you see there's a facilitation technique that works really well, go and prototype it, see if it works for the circle for like these 3 months. It works well, then it could be, it becomes the canon of methodologies, the culture that are leading. So enjoy, take this opportunity. Don't just think about it just as like that's the minimal viable, but what could be the best and awesomest that we can bring.
Awesome. Thanks, Dor. Stephen.
Yeah, I've just been on the outside of doing Catalyst oversight for the first circle one. I would say, yes, by all means, let's experiment with tools. But above all, the most important thing is to communicate what Circle is doing to the community and make that as accessible as possible. So there's a certain luxury of experimentation sometimes when proprietary tools are being used that are inaccessible. So if we're using those kinds of tools, let's do that by all means, but let's keep in mind that the main thing is that people can access what we're doing easily, and we're communicating to the outside world what we're doing well.
Very good point. Thank you, Stephen. All right. Allison, you raised your hand.
Thanks. I have a question actually on exactly that point about communicating what we're doing with the outside world. V1 members, do you have advice or protocols around how you talked about your role publicly to the outside world on doing exactly that, communicating the work of the circle?
Yes, so I can share from my side. So basically, one of the important things was communicating through, our public meetings. So every week we had a public meeting where I discussed what we have done in Catalyst Circle, what are the things we're discussing there, and insights from the SPO community. So that was, my approach, and also the direct discussions. Then sometimes, I had a call and asked, some people, okay, what do you think about this, etc. So therefore, it's like, yeah, it depends. Each group has their own some kind of communities and some channels are really ready where you can basically discuss and share what's happening. But yeah, so I suppose in the future there will be some Catalyst Circle owned channels where you can communicate with each can communicate with their own representatives, with their own communities.
Loris, what vehicle did you use for those? Did you use Spokra? Did you use Swarm? Did you set it up yourself?
So I was using Spokra and as well in my own group where I discussed as well. So, but yeah, both of the Spokra public meetings, which are recorded, so that people can see also afterwards, and also some actually a lot of smaller discussions with some key not key, but basically people who are really good at SPO, people that understand what's happening and have some additional information what's going around SPOs and other groups.
Thanks, Lawrence. Victor.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that in CCv1, I just used the community advisors Telegram channel. It just felt natural to me because I think all of them are there already. There are almost 1,000 people there right now. Not all of them are active, but I would say that there are at least 50 very active CAs there. So it's a good place to brainstorm. And if you think it's needed, maybe you could create another channel, but at least that one is a good start. And there's also the channel, CA's channel in the Discord server of the main community Catalyst community Discord server. My experience with Telegram for this was better than Discord itself.
Thanks, Victor. Yeah, I think a lot of different groups here have natural communities that you can lean on and interact with. I think, Allison, you have probably the greatest challenge because yours is the broadest, most undefined group that doesn't have a natural community. So there is the old selection committee, and we are meeting with you on Monday, so we can talk about one possible venue. But yeah, that's something, if you want some help or ideas, I'm sure people can help you with that.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to, can I jump in quickly just on the voter?
Oh, yeah. Welcome.
I think there is a very good opportunity, and I think we already used that. Danny is sending out the questionnaires to the voters, and I believe we placed some questions in there in the Fund 5. There actually is I'm not sure, but I believe there could be an action item inclusively immediately to look at those results to engage further or see how to engage further.
Yeah, thank you for that. Are you talking about the incentivized voter survey? Because that is something that's on the top of my agenda, or is this something else?
Yeah, I believe this is it. Yeah.
No, actually,
there's a non-incentivized voter survey that's been, we already have the results for.
Good. Okay, so there are two then.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I'm working on the incentivized one. We can talk later, Alison.
Excellent, thank you. So what's the non-incentivized survey?
It's a survey where we don't get anything back. No, but I mean, it's it's for volunteers. No, at the end of every fund, we send a survey, and something that I really think is going to be the intent is it's going to be a bedrock of governance. One of the bedrocks of the governance, where part of it is we're asking people to rank from 1 to 5. The fairness, impact, and usability of Catalyst. So for us, this is like the basic health metric, right? If like, are we on the right path, right? Beyond the opinions. So at the end of every fund, we send it after the tally is announced. And I'm not sure if actually we did it for this fund. I think things were got a bit hectic at the end, but we did it for all the funds before. And
there is Fund 6 feedback actually, Dor.
Great. Okay. So the only thing that's the one thing that's really nice there is that beside the score, I believe that we also ask the person what role is what role the person has in the system, and also if they give a score that's less than 5, we ask them, well, what would it take to make it a 5 for each one of these categories? So you actually get a nice list of improvement suggestions. You can see what the people that are really like really unhappy, for example, what's top of their mind, and like the people are super engaged, what's top of their mind. So it's really a treasure.
So how can I connect with this treasure?
Talk to Danny.
Okay.
Is that something we've shared with the circle before, Dor?
I don't think so.
I guess not. Okay. Yeah, I was actually
But
going to.
let's level that up. Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Would be also interested in these results.
Yeah, so we have feedback from a number of funds that we can potentially go into as a treasure.
That might be a great agenda item to share that at a future circle meeting for the different communities.
Yeah, I mean, I can ask Danny this, but Dor, do you know, has any analysis been done on that already?
Oh yeah, I mean, not for
I
6.
assume. Yeah.
Not for 6, but all the others, wow, we spend many hours and days doing that, and we also share this analysis with the community in town halls. So a lot of times, like when you see in our slides, like these are the top 3 things that that we know that the community is concerned about. So it came from that survey. So there is, yeah. So the answer is yes. There is analysis for all of them also. Yeah, except 6.
All right, amazing. Okay, we're at the point we need to switch over to the Trello board handover to maintain our time. Thanks everybody for kicking us off and talking about kind of the onboarding, expectation setting, process explanation, recommendations and suggestions. I think that's going to be super helpful. And I just want to confirm, since CCv1 is entering mentor status, do the CCv2 people have the contact information for the CCv1 counterparts? If not, please do reach out through your direct chat or whatever and make sure you have that, because I think it's a really great resource. And I really appreciate CCv1 stepping into that role. I think it's we're going to create an amazing mentor chain here by the time we get to Circle V10. Okay, so for the next section, I think, Peter, do you want to share your screen and drive the sharing part? And then I'm actually not super familiar with the Trello part of this. So maybe if somebody who is comfortable with the different cards and what's been done, kind of just go over it and share where we're at, what still needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I guess I was, yeah, okay, let me do that. Okay, so
thank you.
Yeah, on the left you see raw problems. Okay, this is the initial state of so you went and you sourced problems from your group. By the way, I think we each one brought in 2 problems last time, and we kind of find out that that's a lot of stuff to deal. Like, then your circle starts with like 14 open-ended problems, right? Each one pretty wide in scope, and as you can see, a lot of it stayed on the raw because we just didn't have the capacity. Maybe one thing worth considering is just picking 1 from each team that they bring, just to accommodate for what we learned, but up to you to think about it. So this is where you put it initially, and it's really important that those tickets have a clear owner. Okay, so the person from the circle that brought this problem into the table, he needs to be on the owner of the problem, right? Like what you see the initials there. DG is like Dor Garbash. So here, it's like tool makers and maintainers. There are no systems to track and visualize trust and participation. Okay, so there were like 2 people kind of owning it and responsible for advancing it. As you see, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, so it's still raw. Then we actually also had, I believe, like a format to type those in that makes the problem statement more explicit and easy to discuss. I believe it should be something like, I believe those the template and these principles should be available somewhere. And if they're not, like, let me know. Then, and we'll try to refresh that. And then, there's even one more behind it, sorry. Or not. Okay, anyway, so yeah, I don't know what's the problem backlog. So I guess raw problems are problem backlog, basically. Or not.
I think it was problem backlog.
Okay, I got confused because it didn't appear in my view. Sorry, problem backlog are where the initial problems are laid out before they're getting start to work around the table. Then they're moving to raw problems once the member is starting to actively move them through the board. And so this starts with researching. So basically, for example, it's also great, like, if you want to start to define the problem in a well-formulated way according to this template that we recommend. That's this column. Then then once you feel that is sufficiently defined, you bring it to the group and you're like, hey, like, here's the well-defined problem. How does this problem affect your groups? What kind of insights can you share about this problem? Like, can we get a definition of the problem that is not just from my perspective, but kind of from everybody else's perspective? Okay, so then everybody in the meeting gives you some input. Then, and actually, yeah, Victor has a whole, I think me and Victor, we created a whole document that documents all the steps, by the way, so you can review it later. But then once the discussion happened in the circle and all the input was received and the problem statement was revised accordingly, then we call it a well-defined problem. And then it appears and it's ready. Okay, what is it ready for? It's ready to be disseminated, communicated to the wider community, okay, as a call to action from us. And once this is shared with the community, it moves into the shared with community column. And then we wait, okay? We wait for whether we manage to catalyze or not a reaction from the community. So that then three things can happen. One thing can happen is we get a bunch of people from the community who are like, okay, I'm gonna work on this, or like we are aware that there's someone is working on a solution to this problem, or part of it. A second option is like we ourselves are taking direct action. For example, submitting a proposal, submitting a challenge proposal, something like that. In both of these cases, then we basically move it to the picked up column, okay, and saying, okay, people are working on it. Okay, there might be multiple initiatives that are working on it. So it needs to somehow kind of link back to the original problem. And we just track that there's different people working on that. Now, another option is that nobody's picking it up. Nobody's hearing our call, and none of the circle member is taking any action. So it just stays there. Okay, it stays there and as a painful reminder of a problem, an unsolved problem. Then what? Okay, then from the picked up, we're waiting for not just someone declaring it's picked it up, but we're waiting for an actual implementation, an actual prototype launched, and a prototype of a solution. So once we become aware of that item moves to the prototyping column. And lastly, and then in the end, there could be two end results to the prototype. Either the prototype was successful, okay, the results were good, problem was solved, everybody's happy. and then it's you know, and then it's we want to move it into validation. Okay, like if it's a validated solution, or you know, it didn't work out very well. Like we thought it would work, but then on the ground in the prototype itself it didn't work. So then it becomes a rejected, goes to the rejected column. And lastly, there's the integrated column, which means like, you know, not only the prototype was successful, but we actually like fully integrated it into the Catalyst process. So it's now part of the Catalyst canon, right? Not just a wild experiment. So an ideal situation would be that things that are that at the end of your term, you know, we have as many of these problems going all the way to either rejected or integrated. And we feel we made a dent on the problems that were identified.
If I click this road, I'm going to say it doesn't have a height, it's just a road.
I think that's all I have to say. I don't know, maybe Victor, you have some additional things I might have not mentioned.
Actually, I just shared the link to the document that we came up with here in the chat, and it's also accessible in the show menu button at the right of the screen. So there are some more details there, but that's basically what Dor just explained.
So there's three.
Amazing. Thibaut, do you have a question?
Yeah, so when following Catalyst Circle meetings, there were several times like came up actually, there were like double tasks, and then some tasks, for example, it should be somewhere in here too, where you wanted to increase awareness for Cardano, and then the actual solution was that, hey, we had a summit and that was the greatest impact of all, but it's still at the raw problem. So could we like skip all the transitions and move it directly to rejected, or like move it out of the way, or there is some kind of reason why they should be on the board? That's like one thing. Can we like skip ahead in the process with some tasks? And another thing is, here are like quite a high level problems, and when we go defining them, then to get into integrated or accepted solutions and effectively, I feel like there is place to like split some tasks into several parts to make sure that, okay, this part will go to rejected, this goes integrated. And I didn't see any kind of process there too. So is this something also to be updated, or there is a reason that these are like high level problems and we are taking them as like a bulk?
Can I respond to that? I mean, the original problem sensing did define these as high level problems, Tivo, but there is an issue there with how you break down each problem. Absolutely. And I think one thing we could do is that each card can have subtasks within a card. But I think the overall reason why it is defined as a high level is to stop us from moving forward too quickly to say something's resolved when it's not resolved. There is that issue as well. But I'd be interested to any other alternative approaches as well that other people have.
I think looking at it from an agile perspective, these high-level cards would be considered the epics, and then there'll be naturally tasks underneath it. And maybe Trello really isn't the right tool if we want to actually break them down and follow them at a more granular level. That's something we can definitely talk about. Victor, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that this problem that Tivo mentioned was something that we discussed during the problem sensing phase itself, because as we've opened for anyone to contribute in the Matterboard, there were some problems that were too specific and some others that were too broad, and they were not in the same level of depth. Obviously, one of them would take much more effort to be tackled and to be solved, or at least to make some steps. So this is something that maybe the new members might want to think about during the problem sensing phase itself, instead of only thinking about it later.
Thanks. Michael.
This is kind of something that came up for the secretary role of maybe it bleeding over, but I think it might be more appropriate to almost split up the secretary role to do a project manager, because I think like you guys mentioned, it really Trello isn't really well suited for these kind of things. It needs to be in Jira, but as soon as you move to Jira, it's kind of like a larger scope where it can quickly become useless if no one maintains it. So that would be my suggestion is if I move it to Jira, which I'm doing right now, then I'm planning on being the maintainer and kind of driver of it. But it's kind of needs to be a more defined thing, especially if we start moving to Confluence and having more thorough documentation and things like that.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I was going to mention the CC admin team already uses Jira to track our more granular tasks, and it's a good way for us to focus our own stand-ups around that. And it might naturally be a nice tool to use if we can, especially if we can surface the high-level epics, like in this view, and then when needed, dive down into the specifics. And yeah, I think it was definitely something for the admin team to think about, is if we split the secretary into the actual secretary role and then one as a kind of a project management role. That might be a really good split as we evolve the team. Kenrick, you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to comment that, like, as getting started on this, I think this high level view is actually very nice. And I always get concerned that the tools end up overwhelming you and you become focused on the tools rather than what you're trying to accomplish. So you know, we'll learn as we get started, but you know, as an initial perspective, I think this feels right.
Yeah, if the tools migrate, you have to have a high level view as well, because if you can't see from a high level view, then the tool's not useful. So it really has to, if something like Trello moves to Jira, it has to maintain the ease of readability. Yes.
All right.
I just wanted to add, I guess it needs to also be public too, right? We want to make sure this is public facing. And I don't know if Jira or the tools we get with Atlassian are going to be as public. But at least tracking the high level epics might make something, or might make sense, as long as we can share it reasonably.
That's a very good point, Harris.
I also shared that concern because so far in the past I used Jira only for private projects, but I did a quick Google search, so that is supported. And
I would agree with Kenrick that we shouldn't become too focused on the tools. We should take the problems as we find them at a high level to begin with, is my view. And we should avoid proprietary tools as much as possible and move to open source tooling as quickly as possible.
Those are all very good points. And yeah, I think the accessibility for anybody who's curious about what the circles are working on is really important. So we can't have it behind a user name account wall. And I do like Stephen's kind of suggestion that we move more towards open source and less on proprietary stuff. So there's definitely something we need to discuss. But right now we have Trello, and then we can figure out how we evolve this as we move forward. Any questions from Circle V2 on the process to date, especially around the Trello and the high level cards that you want to clarify?
I did kind of just have one general question. So, you know, as we come up with problem sensing, we'll add those cards, and then we're moving these cards as a group. Is that kind of the general consensus? Like we have to bring it to a meeting to advance cards to the next stage. Is that correct?
One thing I see perhaps related to prototyping and picked up I feel like I see Felix Weber name here, and so maybe some of these and Victor Corsina that we just have a chat that how they pretty much like hand over the names, I guess. I think this is something so we don't really like remove the problems, but still push it forward. Yeah. At least some of them I see that are like still relevant in my eyes, and of course we're gonna find more.
Along with that, I have a question for, I guess, Circle V1. Was the Trello board updated and cards moved during the meetings, or did you do that individually in between? Or
So we did that in the meetings. Actually, I don't think we did it off meeting. It was kind of nice. No, I don't know, Felix. Maybe I hear you say it.
No, I
Maybe
just confronted what Nori was asking. But it was nice, yeah. It was in the meetings.
Yeah. And I think that was actually, it is actually like a good way to share, right, in this meeting with others, the work you've done and the progress, and get everybody's reactions. I think it's a good practice to do it in meeting. We talked a lot about that, you know, what happens with all our nice tickets from before. I think we felt that each circle deserves a fresh start and not have to kind of, and also problems change and evolve. You know, you can think about the circle as a 3-month sprint. Like, let's identify and solve problems in 3 months. Let's see how far we can get. Then at the end, there's a kind of a reset. You know, you shouldn't feel obligation to pursue, but you know, if there's a particular problem that keeps resonating, you know, even when you do a new problem sensing, still resonates, maybe it's worth to keep, you know, like, but we give you the freedom to decide about that, and give you the option of a kind of a fresh start, fresh perspective.
Well, maybe the way to do that is in our first meeting, we can sort of review this board as it is and kind of decide whether there's things we want to archive or adjust in terms of where we think the progress is as a starting point. Like, for instance, one thing I'm curious about in my own role is there's 2 cards that are identical. One says there's a CA in raw problems and in prototyping that are identical. So I'm sort of curious how that happened.
Just we don't have the admin right for the board. We can't delete it.
I see.
But they are identical. Just this one in the raw problem. Imagine it's not there.
I see. Okay.
Julianne, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, one thing to that, I believe this is good, giving a chance to really look at those items and talk through them. I think it's a valid approach, since we draw several rounds around the problems, and we believe some of them are, I mean, actually all of them are somehow relevant. Nevertheless, maybe I would offer an additional perspective or additional step here to just think about us, the C1, as a mentor, and I could open this for my counterpart as addressing the funded proposers, to really go through the card and explain what's behind that and what were the discussions around that. So maybe there's some pre-information I can share, and also what I've done to pursue that problem in a more individual way. But that's a personal offer. I don't want to commit anyone, but this could be a part of mentoring a specific a role or a specific problem.
Julian, I'd find it useful to see what the source material was behind any coordinator problems. So if you could email me or share that with me.
Yeah.
I'm also quite happy to take ownership this meeting of those problems by changing the name to me as well. So I quite thought I agree with others, working with the cards and move them across gives you a nice sense of progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I make sure we get together and I share everything I have and get you some insights on what the progress are and the discussions. Yeah.
That'd be good.
And JP had a good comment in chat. Maybe consider assigning these to role names rather than people, and then it might be easier to transition stuff if that's what we want to do, or keep it with people if you really want to emphasize that we're cleaning the slate and people can take over. Okay. Any other questions on the Trello cards and process for Circle V1? We have the next section coming up, but we have time for maybe one more question.
Where do we get invites for the board? Do we request? Or?
Yeah, we will figure that out as the admin team. We need to transfer ownership, and then we'll figure out how to do all the administrative stuff to make sure you all have access to it.
We can invite people manually without admin access. But another question, what happens with the CC version 1 members which are still highly involved in solving some of the problems there with community members? Are we out of the game now and say, oh, okay, new circle, not my problems anymore?
No. I personally don't think that should be the case. Yeah, I think if you have a problem that you're really owning and driving forward, I would stick with it. Maybe involve the new circle member, or if there's something that you want to hand off, work on them to hand it off, or advocate for it to be not like dropped if you're really passionate about it. I think each person should work with their counterpart to ensure continuity or a reset.
Oh, actually, this is a nice one because I think this is a mechanism that's evolving naturally. So maybe there need to be done some thought around it, like the practical approach. But this will go on. So there's something maybe, not the pressing one, but how things work that could be interesting to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's also possible to assign more than one name to a card. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, really good points. And I love the ownership and engagement of the Circle V1. That's amazing. Okay. Any other questions on the Trello process? All right. The next section. Let me go back to sharing my screen. All right, is the Catalyst Circle V2 initial 30-day plan. And this is where we can just initially sketch out some stuff where Circle V2 kind of thinks about what they want to accomplish the first 30 days. One thing that I just threw up there is Fund 7 started yesterday. And there's, what is it, 2 weeks? 3 weeks to get the Circle V2 proposals in and written and done. So Circle V1 has started a couple that weren't part of the previous round. So I know Felix has been working very hard on at least one document, and the admin team has started a few more, at least for the mechanisms and the funding of the team and things like that. But we probably should have some kind of a working plan over the next 2 weeks to come up and finalize some, or not finalize, but at least submit some proposals and then continue to iterate and work on them. And if we decide to start at the next meeting, it'll probably be too late. So this is one of those, we need to work between meetings and figure out some proposal ideas. So that's one thing that I think we definitely should discuss since time is pressing on that one. Felix, do you have any thoughts or ideas on that?
Fortunately, this was well communicated with the admin team already. So one idea is also because we will have this problem between each circles. So the idea is that as the admin team is very close to the Catalyst circles already, everything what comes to budget, whatnot for the Catalyst circle itself, or required tools for the admin team. They will draft all the proposals already as a bureaucratic body, just handle it over to the Catalyst circle. Catalyst circle just needs to assign and can take their time and focus already on the next steps and don't have to enable additional time on, shit, we have to write a proposal now in just some weeks. So that also through the process of Catalyst Circle version 2, that you can ideate already on proposals for Catalyst Circle version 3, which then just be handled over to the Catalyst Circle version 3, and they just assign it and submit it.
So if I caught it correctly, currently the proposals are mainly coming from ideation and experience from version 1. Admins draft it and we just make sure they are good. And for the future, we prepare for when the things we see and where we see that we need funding, we propose that for version 3.
Exactly, because you just have 3 weeks for submitting proposals, but you have 3 months for ideating new proposals for Fund 8. So playing with the time, that's just an effective way.
I'm just bringing this as a question on this, is writing proposals kind of within the scope of the admin's responsibilities? That seems like a lot. And maybe another way you could do this is that one of the last assignments of a team is to have the proposals ready to go. In other words, we may not be ready this time around, but just as a process, you know, it seems like if a team's been working together for 3 months, that last month is when they would be in the best position to draft good proposals.
Yeah, I think absolutely that's kind of the idea. It's just this time around, we were didn't have that process in place, and we had a
totally
couple of
understood.
proposals.
Yeah, we're just getting started with this whole thing.
And I don't think it's the admin team that should draft them moving forward. It's just the team is available right now, and we've been talking about it for a few weeks already. So we've gotten a head start on that process for this current round coming up. But yeah, but I agree, Kenrick, that it should be the circle that thinks about and drafts those as kind of your final gift as you depart for the next circle based on your experience these 3 months.
I might make a suggestion for the next 30 days. Could we go around each new circle representative and see if we have any plans already for the next 30 days?
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to start, but I'd like, you know, okay, well, I've set up a GitHub organization and a Git book for the Catalyst coordinators, and I've sent out a message to the Catalyst coordinator Telegram to say that this exists. This is part to build up an infrastructure for problem sensing in Catalyst coordinators. So what I'm hoping to do there is to have a Git book. One of the problems of Catalyst coordination of proposals is too much asynchronous or synchronous information going. So it's a place to store information to advise funded proposers and to keep track of announcements, and also to collect problem sense feedback on the funded proposal process. And I'm reaching out to people in the network to collaborate on that with tool makers as well, who can provide data on that. So also, I mentioned it now just after the funded proposals, this may turn into a funded proposal as well. So where the infrastructure for the Catalyst coordinators, the kind of collation of issue sensing from funded proposals, and the documentation of the funded process for Catalyst coordinators may be naturally fall into being a Fund 7 proposal, you know. So and that's my initial plans. Also with a focus on audibility. So that's another matter.
Amazing. Do any of the other Circle V2 people have any ideas already of what you're going to be doing in the next 30 days that you would like to share?
I have, but since Julian had her hand up quite a while, and Matthias just did.
Okay. Oh yeah, jump in. Sorry, I was on the wrong screen and I didn't see the raised hands. So Julian, then Matthias.
Oh, actually, I forgot to take it down, but one comment here. I mean, a default proposal always is going to be all the infrastructure or general production on what a functional on a functional circle. So I think this is per default a proposal, or some proposals you're gonna put into Fund 7. And then yeah, I think I like the idea. Since funding is synchronized, seems to be now with the cycle of the catalyst itself. That's good, because you can prepare proposals for what can be entered with the next circle. That's perfect.
Great, thanks. Allison.
Yeah, well, I've given a lot of thought to how to reach the general voter who maybe by definition is not part of one of the other groups. And I'm particularly interested in reaching communities that aren't engaged, and maybe because of language barriers. So I have some ideas. I'm going to go to the Spanish breakout room, and I've already started talking with Juan, and I'd like to connect with the Eastern Town Hall. And I know, Nori, I really appreciate the support that your team is offered to provide, but open call to this group. If you know of channels or communities that are not otherwise engaged with Catalyst that I should connect to, please, please, please give me their information. I really would welcome that.
Definitely will do. Thanks. Kenrick, you're next.
Yes, I was just going to say that the two items that are already on the board are things that I have been keenly interested in and had some discussions with during the Catalyst Swarm sessions. So I think I'm going to make it a priority to kind of continue those initiatives, and I look forward to working with Victor on that.
Excellent. All right, and then Matthias.
Yeah, my action items are trying to get input from the Cardano Foundation leadership beyond what's publicly available. So also I will incorporate the Ambassadors Guild as a group of non-Cardano Foundation members, non-Cardano Foundation employees, but an essential group within the Cardano Foundation. And I will probably have to rely in regards to mentorship on Felix and Victor, which I'm otherwise working with anyway. So thank you for your continued volunteering, and overall just collaborate with other groups. I think it was very important to hear once more what Victor said at the beginning of our meeting, that, yes, we represent our groups, but also overall the Cardano community. And I obviously, like everyone here, wear multiple hats. So I think I can be of use there as well in collaboration.
Beautiful. And just as to help the secretaries, maybe the people that have already spoken, can you go into the document and maybe just put some bullet items in for what you spoke to summarize that? And then we'll go to Harris next.
Yeah, definitely. Already from this discussion, it sounds like there's a wealth of information we can find from the feedback that we've gotten from Catalyst members. So I can take the action to sort of initiate the feedback sharing, synthesis, and analysis.
I think that would be super valuable. Yeah, thank you. And then Raymond.
Yeah, looking at the Trello board and what has already been established as a problem, which is how to get a large community like state cooperators more involved in the whole Catalyst community. right? I think even for myself, I wasn't even aware of some of the importance that community advisors have in the process and moving the process along. So definitely building on the momentum that we have already in that problem and really bringing the problem to the community. I mean, I have a lot of connections with a lot of different state cooperators in this community. And I know from experience that a lot of them are not even aware of the important role that they can play in being a community advisor, just to begin with. So definitely building on momentum there. And then also building some problem sensing tools for such a large, diverse community and multilingual community. I really am very excited and inspired by all of you and what we're capable of doing here as a group to actually build something really, really awesome that makes it really easy for us to sense problems in our SBO community, specifically for my role, and move that into a defined problem that we can actually work towards integration. So super excited about that.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, on toolmaker side, I'm not this week, but I think after next weekend there could be a session about sense making, and perhaps before preparing sense making mirror board and workshop and facilitate that. And another thing, I'm not sure, maybe it's too early, but regarding voting for Catalyst version 3, just today I came up with a call from our team where we trying with the discussion of how do we go next with the JVO application. So in the last feedback, the onboarding process was could be better, because right now it's more the voting tool we use is more for corporate, and we have so many steps behind there. But in this community, we want very easy access. So I understand why the Google form was used. Perhaps I think it would be nice to already in next week's prepare a proposal or proposals to showcase the upcoming version 3. And yeah, like if that's something Circle sees value in thinking about earlier.
Thanks, Tivo. Dor, there's something to contribute.
Yeah, just from the conversation I'm hearing, just want to emphasize something to avoid confusion later on. And the scope of the Catalyst circle. Okay, so when we go on mapping problems, it's very tempting to go beyond the scope of Catalyst. I know this specifically from, like, I think from SPOs and voters are more have a tendency to that, because like general ADA holders, because you know, just to be honest, like, you know, in Cardano there's lots of problems. Also in the world, in existing, there's lots of problems, and we noticed in the V1 that there was like a few times when you know the problem indicated was actually not related to Catalyst. It was like something related to the entire Cardano ecosystem, okay, or something that's like unrelated, which is could be good and useful, like to actually work on those system level problems that are like one level above Catalyst. But the problem is that we're not very well resourced to deal with them from here. So I would really encourage with the way you frame the problem sensing exercises with your groups is problems with Catalyst, okay? Because you know, because voters can have, general ADA holders can have lots of problems, you know, about like how hard it is to convert ADA to other tokens, for example, right, or whatever, or like, you know, a million problems, and we're not necessarily the best equipped to deal with it. But if we focus them on, well, what's in Catalyst, that's a problem. What's in the process of Catalyst, then it's much easier. We are way more leveraged to provide an output there. So just like Alison and Raymond, just a reminder, okay? Because of course SPOs have lots of right, like a lot about the parameter up the like the protocol parameters and stuff like that, and it's like, but we don't have a lot of, you know, there's not much we can do about that from this group. There will be groups, more groups that will deal on the higher level about parameter changes for the protocol, for the Cardano protocol, but not right now. Not, I think. So that's it. Just clarifying.
So I have your permission to ignore every question directed at me that says "when moon."
Yes, you have my blessing.
By whole project catalyst, Alison.
I was joking a little bit, but no, I appreciate that, Tor.
All right, Harris.
Yeah, just in general, representing IOG, I'll be, you know, definitely taking some input from IOG itself and internal stakeholders and seeing if there's problems that might be addressed here by the circle. So that's definitely another item on my plate.
Great. Raymond.
Yeah, I just want to thank Dora for that clarification. You know, I think a few months ago, I was looking at this from a much higher level, what this circle could do. And I can see that this really is an experiment. And I think to be successful, it needs to be good at doing one thing that it can accomplish well. And then we can start working on those bigger problems. So Lars has been doing a really good job mentoring me and sharing with me where the real focus is, that it really is within the Catalyst community, within the Catalyst Circle space, which is going to help me focus my energy more on what I'm doing. So I just wanted to thank you for clarifying that.
I think that was a really great clarification. Thanks, Dor. All right. We are barreling through and we're almost in our final 8 minutes. This is normally when we will take some time to fill out the feedback link. I'm actually going to diverge a little bit and not do it during the meeting and assign that as homework for you all, so we have a little bit more time. So I just want to open it up at the end here just to maybe walk through the room and get some closing comments from everybody, since we're all here together. And this will be probably the last time we have the full 19 invitees here in the same room. So I think it'd be a great way to cap off today, is just to go around and have a little bit of a recap or a summary of what you're looking forward to, what you experienced, how this is going for you, anything you want, just to kind of have closing remarks. So I'm just going to go through my screen order here. So let's start with Alison, followed by Stephen.
Oh gosh, closing remarks would be number one, huge thank you to the Catalyst Circle V1 members. Actually, I'm a little sad that we won't have you in our future meetings, but it's nice to know that you'll still be there for us, and I really do appreciate the inspiration and the support and the words of wisdom that you have already provided and will generously continue to provide. And beyond that, I'm a little nervous actually about taking on this role, but I'm very, very excited to jump into the work.
Even and then Raymond.
I can only echo that. I'm quite nervous as well. It's a big responsibility. But great to have Circle 1 here. I'm glad I wasn't, you know, Circle 1 with no one there. So it's nice to have some mentors here to refer to, and also the great support of Catalyst Circle admin as well. Thank you.
Raymond, and then we'll be followed by Matthias.
Yeah, I mean, in short, I just feel incredibly blessed to be surrounded by people like this who care as much about the vision of Cardano and what it's really capable of doing, and also how much work it's going to take to get there. And the way that you've already shown up in V1, thank you so much for that, and for setting this incredible foundation for us to be able to build on. So I'm just feeling immense gratitude for what's been done, and also do feel that nervousness, which I always see is like, nervousness for me is always an indicator that I care more about the problem than whether I'm going to be good at it or not, which means I'm always going to be improving myself and working with other people. So I use that nervousness as an indicator of I'm in the right place. The game is big, it's scary, and I'm ready to go. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add, I think, but I do want to express my gratitude for the admin team, for the version 1 Catalyst Circle members, and also my peers in version 2 of the Circle. I also want to thank you all again for allowing me to bring my authentic self into the Circle, not just be a puppet of a organization that is not quite well understood yet. I think that would be an interesting role beyond the scope of what Dor just moments ago very well defined, because I mean, yes, we're kind of trying to change the world here, make everything better, right? But we narrow it down to, well, what are the problems of Catalyst, right? And I think that'll lead to the outcome which we hope for, what got us into Cardano in the first place. Well, maybe that and when Moon, but that's beside the point. So yeah, just super excited about the synergies and the collaboration that's going to unfold over the next few months and beyond.
Kenrick, you're up next, and then Thibaut.
Sure. Well, it's just an honor, and I'm really excited to be part of the team. You know, for me, it's been sort of a 3 or 4 year journey now of trying to make contributions to the Cardano effort. And I feel like this is an inflection point where I'm really excited about making a more substantial contribution and being part of a fantastic team. So really excited about the next 3 months.
Okay, well, Thibaut, and then Harris to wrap up the Circle V2.
Yeah, I'm also very happy to be, and slightly a bit nervous, which is now I know a good thing. It's epic that the people I see here are very visionary and want to help people to make best of their lives, and I think this community here deserves this. And being in this place where we are and sensing these kinds of problems and trying to shorten the gap between the success people are looking for and the position they are. I think it's amazing that we get to help them in such an impactful way.
Thanks, Thibaut. And Harris.
Great, thanks, Nori. I'm definitely excited to be part of this Circle, the V1 team. You guys had to blaze the trail for us, so we appreciate you sort of beginning to form the path of the direction. I'm certainly really excited about the potential that we have, that all of us are here really kind of driven by a common purpose. And it's such a high caliber of folks that are here, and I'm just excited to be part of that and to be part of the journey. And we get to help really set the future of what governance is. And it's one of the hardest problems that Cardano faces. And, the effort that we're doing is definitely going to be part of the future. And, I was really, humbled by the concept that, people like even Charles are saying things like, we're doing one of the hardest jobs, and it's not going to be easy, and we're just going to have to take it one problem at a time and solve for what we can to the best of our abilities. And I'm just really thrilled to be working with all of you.
Thank you, Harris. Right. I'm going to swing through the admin team really quick, and then I'll finish with Circle V1. Let's call Michael up.
Yeah, I'm just happy to assist everyone here, kind of help in the background, and see what everyone, be along for the ride and hopefully assist in any way I can. And then following up on hopefully a little bit more organization and process on the tooling as well, to help kind of accelerate that process.
Awesome. Peter.
Yes, I'm excited to be here and I love being able to watch the temperature develop around the community that is this circle. And after watching all the meetings previous to in the first CCv1, it's very refreshing to have the energy so team oriented and happy. So very happy to be here and help collaborate with you all.
Thank you. Nadim.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt what's happening here is something really special in Catalyst and Circle specifically. And just meeting some of the CCv2 people for the first time, I have no doubt that you guys are going to take what CCv1 did, the solid foundations, and you're going to take it to the next level. I'm pretty confident, and I'm appreciative of the atmosphere and the excitement that everyone has. So looking forward to supporting you all through this journey in the background.
Beautiful. All right. Now let's do some closing comments from Circle V1. Julianne, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, here I am. Yeah, with so much thankfulness. I mean, I'm getting a little bit emotional because now I'm realizing that was a really special time, even always sometimes hard and time consuming, but it just makes it feel very purposeful, be part of that and still be part of that, because if someone wants, I mean, there were going to be so many initiatives that need more hands than just the circle. Like this operationalizing we experience as well is so crucial to really drive the changes and solve the problems. So yeah, so it's a little bit emotional, but it's also super purposeful, and I'm glad that there are so many more people like-minded that pursue that journey, and that feels just good. And don't forget to have fun, because this is, again, it's an experiment. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, and just be accountable even to your mistakes. I think this is also important, but it's necessary to learn. We know that all, right?
Thank you. Laura.
Yeah, so I'm glad that, of course, after all this we have done, there is Catalyst Circle version 2. That's good news. But also, of course, I see, I almost all of you I know, so I know that, the CC2 basically is in good hands. And, all the people here are, actively involved in different projects and community, and they know how everything works, at least in their field. And therefore, I know those are guys actually are professionals. They will boost and continue working on this, and really, they have the vision. They're not for short term here. So that's really important, and that's I appreciate, and thank you guys, for stepping up.
Victor.
Yeah, so I would just like to thank basically everyone. Thanks to my colleagues who have been with me in Circle V1. Thanks Circle V2 for stepping up and being here, representing our groups and trying to make things better, Catalyst, to move on. And special thanks for the admin team, because we felt a huge difference when you joined us during Circle V1. It was amazing. And you guys from Circle V2, you have a lot of support from them. I'm sure this is going to be a very strong circle. You're going to achieve a lot. Thanks.
Amazing. Felix.
Yeah, same. Thanks to everyone. To everyone. And as we saw in Catalyst Circle version 1, when it's true that Catalyst Circle is a micro picture of the Catalyst ecosystem, and we know that a third of the people here from the community side left their day job to go full-time into Catalyst. Yeah, maybe it's a really nice sign to say Catalyst is moving in a nice direction.
Beautiful. Dor, you want to bring us home?
Sure. Yeah. I have to say, I have some emotions coming up for me. I've been personally, this whole circle thing, this whole circle adventure was like, Maybe it's like my wife being pregnant. I don't know, but it feels like a birth or something, because it's like I felt like I was like pushing, like even before the inception, to get this happen, to get this to move, go through this like some weird challenges, but pushing all the time. At some point, realizing that maybe I'm pushing even too hard and being too dominant, too controlling, and getting to this place where I can kind of withdraw, right? I know that we see through the amazing work of the members in V1, the beautiful energy of the members of V2, the administrators, the facilitators, the secretaries, having that sense of, okay, this thing stands on its own feet now. I can go and I can let it express itself to the fullest and see where it goes, and trust that it feels like a great achievement, and so for me personally, I guess, but for everybody here, and I think a second thing is just saying that there's a power of leadership that for the circle that goes beyond a Trello board or a specific method and process. It's the power of human connection, and how humans, although in modern society we have all these layers of chat and formats and Zooms and blah, 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 and all the noise and all the distractions, in the end we connect to each other, and the way we coordinate and find the energies to do really hard things consistently over time is through being inspired by leaders and connecting with them and modeling people's behavior and seeing them, and that drives us and motivates us. It's always been like that. It's always going to be like that. And I want to encourage the members of V2 to embrace it, okay, to show up, to bring your authentic self to the forefront, to not be afraid to, come and say what you have to say, or express what you have to express. And also when things are hard or unknown, also express that. That's also a great model. And and like come, you have the town hall, you have the Eastern Town Hall. Show up and express yourself, your leadership, inspire people. I think that's gonna be your magic tool, the magic thing that's you're gonna see how it evokes things that are way more powerful than what a Trello board can do. Yeah. Although a Trello board is actually really important too.
Beautiful. All right, thank you, Dor. There were a lot of people here. I think there were 17. Did I miss anybody? I just want to make sure that we get everybody. I think I got everybody. Okay, so I just want to say, yeah, look around at all the faces. This is what we created from a little kernel of an idea, and now we have 17, 18 people fully engaged. It's great, and congratulations to everybody, and thank you for a successful transition of power. It's very peaceful. This is how it should be done. So thanks everybody for your contributions, and I look forward to seeing what we all create together.
Yeah, I didn't talk, Nori.
Oh, JP, there you are.
That's okay. That's okay. I was like, well, I'm new. I don't need to jump in just to have my voice heard. No, I just want to reiterate, like, join the admin team kind of at the end at this transition phase. Really keen to help. So especially, and I know you guys are leading the proposals, but I love things like editing and, providing comments and reflecting, talking through problems. So if anything, just want to reiterate my commitment. And if people want to bounce ideas or talk through anything, I just put that out that I'm also here to help with that as well.
All right, thanks. And sorry I missed you. All right, everybody, we're at the end of our formal meeting. So we can stop the recording, and then you're free to go or hang out and chat.